So, just thank you for those of you who are here live. Thank you for those of you who signed up to get the replay and are watching this later. I want to welcome you to this workshop called Is Your Marriage the Problem? How to Know Without Regret or Obligation. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure everyone's muted. But I want to start by saying you are in, actually, I'm going to pin my own video just to make sure. Light for everyone. Okay, great. Getting all that set. So I want to just welcome you and let you know that you are in the right place. If you are in a marriage or another long-term relationship that you are feeling doubt about, if you're wondering if you really should be there, if it's really serving you in your life. And I just want to congratulate you on showing up. I know it can be hard to admit you're even feeling this way. I have certainly experienced that myself. And by the end of the time together, I promise you that you are going to have some new perspectives and new tools that will start to get you unstuck and creating shifts in your life, maybe faster than you can imagine. Some of my clients I've worked on this issue with, we've seen changes like shockingly fast. So I'm wishing for that for you today for this. I was sitting with my own desires for this time, and one of them is that I really, really hope that this time is life-changing for people and that it can that the concepts we covered today actually like save a relationship that's worth saving or help someone leave one that really needs to be leaving. And yeah, some folks are more camera comfortable with camera off, and that is totally okay. I just welcome you to be here and whatever has you feeling safe in your nervous system to really learn. That's an important part of learning. So thank you for being here. And yes, I know I think the vast majority of people who signed up are here to watch the replay. So thank you for doing that too. Just quickly, if you don't know me, I'm Rachel Zurer. I am a life coach and I'm trained with a body of work called Conscious Loving and also Body Intelligence with Gay and Katie Hendricks. Conscious Living is a book that I came across about a decade ago that really started to change my perspective and became the beginning of a big rabbit hole. And since then, I've done a ton more work and gotten trained with these coaches. So a lot of the perspectives I'm going to be sharing today are from Gay and Kitty Hendricks and the conscious living ideas. I'm bringing some other stuff of my own here too, but just so you know that. I've also had my own journey with this topic. I was married for 7 years with that partner for 12 years, and we got divorced in 2018. And I said this in some of the marketing for this event. But it was hard. It's hard for me to like admit this. It hurts my heart to say it. But in some of the later years in that relationship, I like realized I was even fantasizing about my husband like getting hit by a car or suddenly dying somehow, even though he was like a good person and I didn't really want him hurt. But there was just this depth. I just say that to exemplify the depth of feeling trapped that I had, where I knew I wasn't happy, but I didn't know how to get through it, how to talk about it. I just wanted this problem to go away. And like I guess I just want to say I deeply understand the pain of really being torn between several things. And I'm very glad that's not what happened. But I just want to say I really, really get what it's like to feel confused and stuck. And I'll say a little bit more about kind of my background and my bias on this, but just wanted to share that. So the plan for our time today, we've got 90 minutes set aside. If you can stay the whole time, fantastic. If you can't, of course, feel free to leave when you need to. Um, oh, and somebody here is saying that they've had moments of that too, and that you shared it with your partner. That is going to be something I'm talking about, and to help those feelings subside. Yes, thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for sharing it with your partner. I think that's a very brave move that not all of us are ready for, but I love knowing I'm not alone in that either. Yeah, so our time for today, uh, we have a little less than 90 minutes now. I'm going to do some teaching about some concepts. If we have someone who is ready and available and interested in getting coached live, we have some time and opportunity for that. If not, that's fine. I have plenty of more content we can talk through, or we can ask questions in the chat if you don't want to come on video. And then I'll also make sure to leave time for some questions beyond live coaching and to make sure you know exactly how to get some deeper one-on-one support with this. This is one of the most rewarding and meaningful things I work on with clients as a life coach. It's part of why I'm teaching this workshop. And I know how painful and high stakes it can be to get out of this tension in a good way. So I just want to say we'll have time to talk about how you can get some more support beyond this workshop too. Okay, so let's get into it. Like I said, if you're here, it's likely because you were feeling doubt about being in your marriage or long-term relationship, and this should I stay, should I go question is looping, it's nagging you. You can't get free of it. You can't just settle into being there. You can't just get clear to leave. You are stuck in this middle zone that is incredibly uncomfortable. This is quite a tender topic. So there's a few things I want to presence before I dive into the teaching. I've been mentioning or alluding to this a lot, but I want to talk about confidentiality. I am recording this. I've spotlighted myself. I'm recording speaker view, so you will not be in the recording unless you raise your hand and come on camera and deliberately choose that. So know that. As I've already been doing, I may read some of the comments out loud. I'm trying, basically, into my intention is not to use names as I do that. And feel free to just come with your initials or use your a pseudonym. And I'm going to just paste in the chat how to rename yourself if that's something you want but don't already know. So that's the instructions if that's something you want to be doing. Um, as someone's already doing, you can leave your video off, even as you get coaching, if that would be more supportive to you. That's slightly trickier for me. I love seeing your face, but it's totally doable. There's also going to be teaching, not just coaching. Yeah, so I'm starting with some teachings for sure. And but just wanting to get clear about this confidentiality part. And then I'm going to be sending a replay, as I've mentioned a few times, to anyone who's registered to my email list, and eventually I may make the whole recording available on YouTube. If you want support or coaching or to talk about something, and your situation is just like sensitive enough that you don't want to come on camera with that, that is a great opportunity. I'll tell you more later how we can talk one-on-one. So thank you for being here. Another really important note I want to make today about the scope of this workshop is that basically what I'm teaching today is presuming that we are not in a circumstance of abuse in the relationship. Um, if we're talking here about sort of the ordinary misery of of deep long-term relationship, of your partner driving you crazy, of your heart not being sure you're in it, that kind of things. If you think you may be experiencing physical or emotional abuse, or you're not even sure about it, um, then I would really recommend you can reach out to me for support to give you some resources, or the National Domestic Violence Hotline is a great place. And there's a phone number and thehotline.org. There's even chat. So if this is something where you're concerned about your long-term safety, physically or emotionally or financially or spiritually, uh, please, please, please just be aware that I am really focusing more on the scope of like, I'm not happy here, but uh, I wouldn't call it abuse. So I just wanted to say that. I'm gonna take a breath. That's some heavy stuff. Feeling care just for that experience and situation. And the last thing I want to say before we really dive in is I just want to name a little bit of my own bias. It's impossible to be completely neutral about anything. And as I already mentioned, I've wrestled with this question extensively in my life, basically since I've only been married once, but since I was literally 14 years old, I have been in serial, fairly long-term monogamous relationships almost continuously. And I've tended to stay in relationships way too long, longer than they were really serving me. And in my own life, the direction of growth has been generally getting braver and more willing to step out of something sooner. And that said, I'm also very pro marriage, and I'm pro commitment, and I'm pro the spiritual path that a deep long-term relationship can be. And I'm in the process of finding my way into that again right now in a whole new way, and it's feeling incredible. But my parents have been married for 55 years, and they're very glad that they stuck through their hard times. And I also, especially if you're actually married, I think the ritual and the legal commitment of marriage, like this is a thing that I don't take lightly. I've often said marriage is like a zip tie legally. It's easy to get in, you just sign a few papers, but getting out is really hard. And I don't take letting go of it lightly, even though I've done it. And this is especially true if you have kids at home and you're going to be co-parenting, no matter whether you leave or not. Um, and all that said, I did leave my marriage, and I'm glad I left my marriage. So there's complexity here, and I just wanted to share that I'm not coming in to talk you into leaving. I'm not here to talk you into staying. I'm here to help you see more clearly, to learn as much as you can from the circumstances that your soul has gotten you into. And then if you stay, that you're staying with no obligation, with a sense of like really clear choosing, or if you're leaving, you feel clear in yourself that you're not regretting the way you left. I'm glad I left my marriage, but I do have some regrets about the process that got us there and things I would do differently. Okay, and the last thing I want to acknowledge before I really get into the teaching is that in a long-term relationship that's you're going to have lots of stacked issues at this point. You know, the dishes are never about the dishes, right? Like the thing that's bugging you, it's going to have so many layers in it, especially if this is a long brewing situation. I really have a dream that some of the things I teach you in this workshop are gonna be a big unlock for you, but I also have humility that this may not get fully resolved in a free 90-minute workshop. So you're going to leave with some powerful new tools, some powerful perspectives, but this is also why I offer this deeper one-on-one weekly. We're getting really into it together because some of this really takes some time and support. Okay, so stage is set. Anyone have any questions at this point? And I just want to invite us all, as I often do in the work I do, we're very body-based also in the work I do. So just taking a moment. Let yourself have, and this is for me as much as for you, let yourself notice the surfaces that you're sitting on that are supporting you, that stability that's always here. Take a deeper breath, kind of inviting yourself into your senses, into the present moment, allowing an intention to surface for your time here. What is it that you want? What are you pointing towards? What do you want to feel? What do you want to have? Just by being in this workshop, I have a teacher who says, if you know where you're going, your odds of getting there go way up. And that's how I think about the power of intention. It's extremely potent. So, what is it that you're hoping to get out of this workshop? And are you willing to commit to taking responsibility and openness to doing your best to get that? Whether that's asking questions or just really receiving. Hmm. Okay. All right. So as we've established, you were here because you have a problem. And that problem is that you were having doubt about staying and having doubt about going in your marriage or your long-term relationship. And this can be so painful. It's draining. It's scary. And you are likely leaking a lot of energy about it. I taught a workshop last month about pleasure. And one of the things I was pointing out there is that relationships are one of the most significant predictors of life satisfaction. And if your core intimate primary relationship is causing you doubt, causing you stress, it's going to impact, it's going to spiderweb through your life, through your well-being. And that's no matter how good the other stuff is. You may have great community, you may have, work you love, your health may be great, but even so, this is one of the core pillars of life. And so it's really not possible to compartmentalize it as much as we pretend, as much as we try. If we're really honest, this dissatisfaction in a relationship like this is really it's really painful. And all that said, I'm not here to scare you. I've told many a friend and many a client in the throes of this question of a relationship that like they're not sure what to do with. Are they should it is the aligned thing to stick it out and get through? Is the aligned thing to hit the eject button? And what I want to tell, I've told many people and I want to tell you is that I trust you and I trust what's happening. And if it were clear, you would know what to do. And it's okay that it's not clear yet. And I trust the things you're getting to learn by staying. And I trust the things you're getting to learn by having doubt. And I trust that you will find the path that is your soul's journey and that that it's okay. You're not You're not on a collision course. And even if you're in a really uncomfortable relationship, like this is what you're choosing now, and I trust it. So I want you to take that in. Mm. And I want to help you get out of this painful moment. So just to like set some more context, why is it that we get stuck here? You were absolutely not alone if you're stuck here. I had, a couple dozen people register for this workshop, and that's just in like 6 days of promoting it. I've been through this many times. Humans get stuck in this place. And it is not because you are broken. It's not because you're too weak to leave. It's not because you're greedy for wanting something else. It's not because of those things. A few reasons this occurs. I have three I want to talk about today. One is that because you have competing values. This may seem really obvious, but I think it's really helpful to name. You have competing values and competing desires. There are different parts of you that are currently in a battle with each other and thinking that there's a win-lose here and that different parts are wanting different things. And just that mere feeling of like you value the times you've had with your partner. You value a lot of different parts of them, but you also value your freedom, or you value holding your commitment, and you value taking good care of yourself. Like you have different things that are in competition. And then when that's happening, it can start to feel like an inner crisis. And so it can be really hard to actually turn towards it, separate the pieces out, and feel all of it. We tend to have this idea that if we can just like turn away from feelings, it's kind of the automatic impulse that they'll go away and leave us alone. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So you have these competing values, and then it causes stress, and then the sort of default impulse is to just like do your best to not look at it. This is part of why we get stuck. I'm gonna slow down and take a breath too. And we'll talk a little more about what to do about these pieces, but just to point out the issues. And let someone in here. Pardon me. There we go. Okay. Another reason we get stuck in this place of the in between, of the not staying and the not going. This is a little confronting. This is some of the bolder teaching I have for you here. But it's because we don't take responsibility for what we're actually committed to. And I'm going to talk a little more about what I mean by committed to. But we look at our partner and we think that if only they would do X, Y, or Z, if only they would stop being so dependent on us, if only they would take more responsibility about something, if only they would really get clear on what they want. There's a bunch of different ways this can look. But if only they would, and we don't ever, unless we're really, really disciplined in this or have learned the skill, we don't turn that same lens on ourselves. And this is the place where I think there's a ton of juice in being in this moment in a relationship. And I'll talk more about what I really mean by taking responsibility for your commitments, but taking responsibility for your own commitments, it's uncomfortable. And so it's easier to stay in the fog than like really, really taking on full, clear power for your life and your experience and your happiness. And so we get stuck in these entanglement dynamics with the person we're in a relationship with. And it's not because some of us, like some people just aren't willing to do this, but it's mainly because most of us have never quite been invited to and taught to and don't really understand it. So I'm going to explain that a little more. But the last reason I'm going to say that at least I've seen that people get stuck, that in the zone has been huge for me, is that we tell this story that we have to get to an answer. We have to figure this out alone in our head before it's allowed to actually come into the relationship itself. That we have to bring the answer to the person we're in relationship with of um, our full commitment or our decision to leave. But a thing I teach so often is this idea of bringing the question. This is a relational question. And we can never truly resolve a question about a relationship on our own. without being in relationship around it. And so this is another bold, somewhat confronting thing, but I don't mean you need to go blurt out everything sort of at a bad moment or all at once or in a way that's going to cause more conflict. But there's this way that when we're over here trying to figure it out, figure it out, figure it out, uh, we're not actually in the most useful conversation we could be having. So what do we do about all this? Fundamentally, and this is the solution I teach for pretty much everything, is deeper responsibility. And that means deeper creatorship, deeper understanding ourselves as this incredibly powerful creator of our lives and our experience. It's taking our power back into ourselves. And this isn't about blame. Um, this isn't about, oh, okay, this is all my fault. This is about saying, oh my gosh, I have way more power here than I thought I did. And letting go of doing as much of looking at our partner or to certainty or to something else to show us what to do and to really take on this posture of like, oh my gosh, what a gift that I'm in this circumstance. I've got things to learn. I've got things to learn about myself, about how I show up, about the my fear of saying true things out loud, of the ways that I tend to give myself up, about the ways I create this dynamic with my partner. And I just want to say, I don't that if you're in this moment or you're in this indecision, there is at least some percentage of your relationship that is likely what I would call an unconscious relationship or an entanglement, where you're reacting to old patterns, you're avoiding your part in it, and you're deciding from fear. And that doesn't change if you just try and pick stay or leave without getting to the root of that. Like wherever you go, there you are. And so you can't make a clear, empowered decision around staying or leaving from your own drama. We have to get you out of your own drama into more clarity, into more presence, and into more responsibility, and then into a relational conversation around the question. And then from here, from a place of presence, from a place of honestly feeling more neutral, feeling good, out of blame, then clarity can really come. I'm going to pause again. I'm noticing this is the first time I'm really teaching in a group about this stuff, and it's tender. And I'm feeling my own, like, just the heaviness of how heavy this question has been in my life many times. So just inviting us all to take another breath. Again, feel the solidity of the ground here. I love this about gravity and the earth. They're always here, always offering an experience of support in this moment. And this is really important because in order to get clarity on whether to stay or go, presence and being in the moment is really an incredibly important piece of the journey. That if we're trying to just decide things from our head, that's the place where we spin and we don't get to any deeper clarity. Our body knows more things, and from presence, we can actually see clearly instead of just reacting from fear or spinning in our head. So that's one big part of the solution is some tools to get present. And we can just keep coming into that now. Noticing what's happening in your body, noticing your senses, noticing your breath, looking around the room, asking the question, am I safe right now? Our nervous system likes to give us a sense of threat when we're talking about high stakes things. It can be really helpful to just realize, like, okay, in this moment, I'm actually quite safe. Mm. So, presence, coming back again and again to presence. We'll never stay there. That's not part of what it's like to be human. But coming back again and again into the senses, into the moment, into our body, and the wisdom it has. And I just want to say some of the biggest moments of clarity for me in relationships have come when I've been not when I've been sitting there trying to think about it really hard, but when I've been in an experience where I've gotten lots and lots of time of just getting back in my body, getting back in my body, getting back in my body, long hikes. I had a weekend of a dance workshop that was really pivotal in bringing me a bunch of clarity around my marriage. Yoga classes, these kinds of things that really long runs, like whatever it is for you. But the more you can really, really get into your body, the more these deeper truths that don't usually come in words can start to show themselves. So that's a piece that I want to offer. But the more the more sort of like tactical, intellectual thing that we can do also is to start to own our commitments. And what is a commitment? We can tell what we are committed to by our results and our behavior. So we can say we want more intimacy, but if we are not having more intimacy, then the invitation of stepping into creatorship, stepping into deep learning, stepping into ownership here is to claim, oh, okay, right now I am at least unconsciously committed to what I'm getting. And as we own those commitments, we can start making different ones. As we start to see the recipe for how we've created um, what we are struggling with, then we can start to make different choices. And I don't want you to take this as me saying you are to blame. What I'm saying is there is so much juice in thinking through how you, as part of the dynamic, are creating exactly the results you're getting. And in playing with that question and in getting really honest with yourself about that question. And I'm gonna talk about quite a few more like specifics of what that is, but still giving an overview here. And then finally, once we've done a bunch of the work of getting present, of owning our own commitments, of really like digesting how it is we have something to learn here, I really, really want to encourage this possibility of bringing the question, taking what you found honestly to your partner, not making a decision this big alone, not staying silent about what you're wrestling with. And this is one of the things that I deeply regret in my marriage. I had this experience of we had been, kind of things had been rattling for a long time. We'd been unhappy. We were in couples therapy, but we were not um, really making that much progress there, if I'm being honest, looking back. And I had this weekend where I was in this dance workshop where I was just in my body over and over and over again. I had like a day and a half of that. And then the next day, I was at a Korean spa for my one of my friend's birthdays. And I'm standing under this basically like a fake waterfall, like with water like beating on my back. And I just had this sense of knowing in my body. It just came kind of from below, not from my head. It was this clear knowing of I don't want to be married to this person anymore. And that moment of clarity was terrifying to me. I remember just like kind of freezing, not knowing what to do about it. I sat with it. I didn't tell my friends. And here's the kicker. I did not tell him that I had had this thought. I did not bring it to our next couples therapy session. I just kind of pretended to myself that this moment of clear presence had not come. Now, I then within the next month or two managed to create some experiences that just like went sideways and sabotaged and got me that desire, but in a very, very sideways way that created more drama, more residue, more pain, more resentment than needed to happen, right? And from what I know now, what I would have, if I were my own coach back then, what I would have, and I had a coach actually, and I didn't even tell her that I had had this experience. So that's one thing is being willing to speak about it. That was my commitment to not being honest. But what I would tell myself now is, okay, bring that question. Maybe you need support. Go be with your couples therapist as you do that. But bring this question of, wow, I had the thought come through. I had this sense of clarity and I don't know what to do with it. I don't need to know the answer of what it's going to mean for us. But to go reveal and share with my partner, my husband at the time, hey, I just had this thought that I don't want to be married anymore. And to give us the chance within our committed relationship, to be with that, to feel the feelings that come with it, to have the conversations that would bring up. That is one of the clearest things that I regret in leaving my marriage, that I did not come at it straight on. And so I don't know if any of the rest of you have been dealing with this. And I have a lot of compassion for myself that I was too scared to let myself even know it for myself. But um, I want to take a moment to let you ask yourself and give yourself permission to know. I'm going to ask you a question, and I would like you to give yourself permission to know the answer without without it having to mean any particular thing about that you have to tell somebody, that you have to do anything about it. Like, we can let this be piecemeal. Yes, I'm encouraging you that it's really helpful to talk to your partner about these things that feel scary to tell them. But even before that step, you get to decide you're not ready for that. You get to move at your own pace with everything. And I want you to allow yourself to know, is there any significant truth that you haven't communicated to your partner? And one way to think about this is there anything significant about you or about your relationship that you've talked to a third party about, like a friend or some kind of religious figure, a therapist, that you haven't talked directly to your partner about? And this could be just some thought prompts. It could be sexual experiences you haven't told them about. It could be money you've spent. It could be something you're still angry about, something you're still hurt about. It could be something you're scared about. It could be something you really want that you're afraid to tell them. Is there any significant truth you have not communicated to your partner? Letting yourself be willing to know that. And knowing that if there is, this is a way. You may have lots of good reasons in your head, lots of good stories. I don't want to hurt them. It would just cause drama. Nothing good can come of this. What I have found through very hard won lived experience and from the teachings of my teachers who have been, together for, I think, 50 some odd years at this point in a deeply happily relationship and worked with thousands of couples, is that when there is withhold, anything not said in the connection between you and somebody, then it can never be a clear channel. It creates residue. It creates distortion. It creates withdrawal. And so if you're at this moment where you're thinking you may be willing to walk away from this relationship, could you be willing to, if there's part of you that is considering letting it go, I want to invite you into this potential experiment of being willing to wonder what could happen if we got this stuff out of the way. If we dealt with the pain, if we dealt with whatever feelings I might have, whatever feelings they might have about sharing this, but really letting yourself realize that this is a way that you are blocking intimacy. I'll say that again. If we are withholding significant truths, thoughts we've had several more times from our partners, then this is a way that we are blocking intimacy. Okay, so I want to got a few more things for us to consider and things to work with, but just wondering how, if anyone is willing to put in the chat, kind of how this is landing for you so far. If we were in a one-on-one coaching session, I'd be getting to see your face and I'd be asking, what are your thoughts here? I'm landing some pretty heavy things, and I want to know, is your system in resistance? Are you getting that like uh, shot in the gut of like, oh God, I feel confronted, but it feels true? Anyone will, if anyone's willing, and I won't say your name if you put it in the comments, but anyone's willing to let me know how this is landing for you. I've got some more kind of practical pieces of how to work with it to share. Hmm. And I just want to say, so a reminder of what I was pointing out, presence and then ownership and then honesty. In this order, people try to skip straight to a decision without those steps that would, these are, doing these things are what help make your decision really trustworthy. Help you know that if you're leaving, you're completing in this relationship, not quitting on it, not taking your own pattern and drama with you into the next one, that you're really getting all your learnings from it and then ready to move on. Okay. Not getting anyone up for commenting. So I'm going to keep going. This works to help you make a clearer decision because, well, presence gets you out of reaction. You know, when we're in a reactive, fearful state, when our brain is telling us this is an emergency, um, then we literally enter a different physiological state. And I've got a comment here I'm going to read in a sec, but our ears change, our vision changes, our breathing changes. And so if we're in the fear of what this decision might mean, which of course we are, this is in getting into our attachment system, our sense of belonging, might be like money, logistics, like really, these are some big decisions about the foundational layer of the pyramid of needs, maybe our living situation. So it's really easy to be in a lot of fear around it. But from fear, we don't make great decisions. So the more we can get into presence, the more we can get into curiosity with ourselves and to actually seeing what's happening, the more creativity and possibility we have. So getting into the body, getting into presence, getting out of the sense of emergency, that's very important. Yeah. Yeah. So just gonna um somebody's saying here that it's hard to put in chat, but it's landing really clearly for me. I'm unpacking things I wish I did in my previous marriage and what I need to tackle in my current relationship. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Someone else is mentioning I'm in an unhealthy relationship, so it's not totally relevant to my situation. These are good thoughts when people are in healthy relationships. Yes. And I think you got here a little late, but one thing I mentioned um, is that this advice is really for the scope of this is for relationships that would not be considered abuse. Yeah, this person's saying if you're with a narcissist, you have to be really discerning about what you share because your truth is not safe. So then, I would agree with that. And then like my question to you is like, okay, so in what way like what are you getting out of being committed to being in that relationship? If you know it's an unhealthy relationship, what are you getting out of not leaving? And if this may need more one-on-one conversation, so because this is a bit beyond the scope of what I'm trying to point at. And I also have experience with being in a relationship with somebody who was definitely not fully well and had some strong narcissistic tendencies, and that was his own whole journey. So yeah, thank you guys for sharing. I appreciate that. Okay. So this idea of returning to presence, of letting yourself know that you are safe, letting yourself turn off the part of your brain that's yelling that this is an emergency. It's not. It's really not. It's like there might be some very specific edge case situations that maybe, but for the most part, it's not an emergency. That's why you're in indecision in the first place. So letting your body really know that. And then owning your commitment. So I was gonna teach this later, but I'm realizing that it's gonna be helpful to for me to get clearer about what I really mean about your commitments. So I'm gonna share my screen here for a second. And these are um, a couple things I mean about relationship or owning commitments. And I'm reading the chat while we go too. So I'm gonna come back to what the next person just shared. I really appreciate all your thoughts and insights. But here's some of what I mean about owning your commitments. So we are always committed to something, and we can tell what we're committed to by the results we're getting. So, for example, on the theme of intimacy and independence, we can be committed, and of course, we always have to recommit and change. This doesn't mean that this is a direction we're heading. It doesn't mean we're perfect at this in every moment. We can either be committed to closeness and independence, or we can be committed to defending against closeness and limiting our own independence. And I would just invite you as you read these to sort of get a sense of where you think you are in your current relationship. We can either be within the realm of honesty, we can be committed to full expression. Telling my truth about everything, including my feelings, thoughts, and actions. Committing to telling the unarguable truth instead of opinions, beliefs, and some prejudice. Unarguable truth means body sensations, emotions, and then thoughts, but labeled as thoughts. I'm having the thought that, or I'm telling the story that. These are the inarguable truths. And committing to listening non-judgmentally to myself and others. That's one version of a commitment. Or we could be committed to hiding the truth from ourselves and others. Committing to listen judgmentally only through the filter of our prejudices. These are the kinds of things we could be committed to. Blame and fault finding. I commit to taking full responsibility for my life. I commit to dispelling the illusion that anyone else, living or dead, causes my feelings or actions or is the source of my limitations. This is a bold statement. This is one option of a commitment, and it's one that I have really been practicing and trying to live for a decade now. It's radical. It changes our whole experience. But we could also be committed to blaming others for everything that I don't like about myself and my life. Or we can be somewhere in between. Um, when faced with a choice between happiness and defensiveness, I commit to choosing happiness, especially when it seems totally obvious that I'm right and others are wrong. Another way to put this is I'm more committed to learning than being right. This is one of the ones that, one of the early commitments that I really tried to start changing for myself. Of when I was in a tense moment, I would start thinking, oh my gosh, okay, can I be more committed to learning than being right here? Or we can be committed to being right at all costs, even if it destroys the well-being of others or of relationship. Um, And I'm gonna not get into all of these, but those are some examples of what I mean by commitments, and we can tell what we're committed to by what results we're getting. So just inviting you to look at those. Which of those are you committed to? Which of those on each side were you committed to the more empowering commitment or the disempowering commitment? What can you see by the results in your life? Hmm. Okay. And I've got somebody here saying that I think even in an okay relationship, given that people can be imperfect, yes, we are all definitely imperfect, carry old hurts, absolutely. And these old hurts can create conflict. Uh, Truth is not always safe in the sense that it might be misused or misconstrued or judged during conflict, even if things are okay outside of conflict moments. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So what I think I'm hearing you say there is that telling the truth can feel scary in a moment, and that if somebody is deep in their own kind of reactive patterns, that there may be good discernment in not saying something in any particular moment, even if things are okay outside of conflict moments. And yes, there's a whole model. I went to a whole day workshop that a friend of mine's teaching that I think is so spot on about repair, in which we talk about needing to like really get resourced, be very resourced, and then get permission to have the conversation and then get really clear on shared reality. And like, yes, we humans are always imperfect. We're always bringing our past hurts in here. And so knowing that our partner may get heated in particular moments of conflict or have challenges, there's still this question of what are we committed to? Are we committed to having our own um, to being in a situation where we're hiding ourselves in order to try and control someone else's experience? And there are definitely tactics and tools, and this is kind of outside the scope of this workshop to share all the nuances of the ways that we could communicate these things. I'm not, but there are a lot of tools I have to offer about that. But that we can still take responsibility of the fact that we are choosing to try and control how they feel or how we feel by not sharing something. And the same person is saying, I choose to keep some things hidden or private. I know the truth. I'm not always proud of it because of different models of the world and value systems. Sharing the truth would create conflict and pressure. I'm not willing to be under. Yeah, so that's clear. You're not willing. That's a choice. I would like to be able to share it, but in service of avoiding unnecessary conflict and stress, I keep some sides of my life parallel and private rather than completely open. I have made my peace with this because there is so much good worth preserving in and around this. Yeah, I mean, I would love to have a longer conversation with you about this one in particular. Um, if you have truly made your peace about it, then I completely support you in whatever you've made your peace about. I get curious about um, if if you if you are really fully at peace with it, or if this is part of the wobble in the question. That would be my first question to sort of um, talk about. Uh, Being clear on taking ownership of what you are committed to. And this is what I was saying. Part of what I want to help you with here is if you are choosing that you want to stay with the circumstances that you're creating, or you want to stay and try and play with creating new circumstances by changing how you're behaving, I really support that. Like, I'm not here to say this is the only way to do it. But what I would really, really support is that you stay, and that you're in congruence and alignment, and like um, ease with your own choices, with what you've chosen that you're committed to. What I'm wanting is for, if you stay, you're not in any, and you stay even in a circumstance like this where you're choosing to keep some of your world private and parallel in some way, that you then feel like that you're not in the internal any internal drama about that, that you really are truly at peace with it, that you're not having a sense of obligation or resentment building from that, that you're like, yeah, I want this. This is what I want. I value this thing and I value that thing. And this is my choice of how to get both of them. Like, in that circumstance, that's what I want for you. I don't think I need you to, I don't need you to exactly do it this way. Um, yeah. Okay. We've got some more comments coming in. I want to finish offering some teaching here, and then we'll get back to that. Just one last thing I would like to offer as a little activity right now is, I mentioned that part of why you are in this, that you're here, part of why this is a problem, part of why this feels painful, is that that you're feeling stuck, that you have competing things that you want, competing things that you value. And so one of the things that I find also really, really important to do, and that is something I do a lot with my clients, is to give each of those their own full breathing room and expression. To not try and, you know, take, you have white and you have black, and so now I'm only allowed to look at gray, right? Instead of that point of view of like, well, I know there's white and black here, so I'm going to just like stare at the gray. No, no, there's another option. And this other option is to really, really fully be with the white, and then really, really fully be with the black, and then to go back and forth until something starts to shift, but to give them each their full space to breathe. And so I would love for anyone who's willing and in a position physically that they're able to, you could even do this while you're driving, or pause, if you're doing the dishes or on the treadmill. But I want to think about what are, you don't have, this doesn't have to be the end all be all, but think about two values that you have in conflict. And it could be as simple as, I want to stay and I want to leave. Or I love this person and I'm not satisfied. Or I want the closeness and I want freedom. But think about two things that are in tension for you right now, two things that you're valuing that are part of why you're stuck in a tug of war in this situation. And I want to invite you to do what I was just doing. I think everyone's muted. I'm just gonna, but yes, everyone's muted. So if you're in a place you can even say it out loud, I would highly recommend it, or else whisper it, or at least think it in your head, and use both your hands and go back and forth a few times with me. So I want this, and then really important, not but and I want that. I want to stay and I want to leave. I want my freedom and I really value this relationship. Whatever it is for you, take a couple moments right now. Go back and forth. This and this and this and this. And keep going back and forth. Do it a few more times. I'm just inviting you to notice what happens when you let the fact that you want two things just be there. Just be there clearly right now, without necessarily trying to resolve them yet, letting them each be as big as they are. What's your experience of that? If anyone's willing to share in the chat. Things I've experienced is just this breath of relief of not trying to like Just be like, oh, there's gray, there's gray, there's gray. No, there's black and there's white. And a next sort of the next level of this activity, we're doing it gently with our hands. The next level of this activity that I would like recommend if you're really in a big decision conflict with yourself right now is to set a timer for at least 2 minutes. Could be 3 or 4 or 5 if you end up needing longer. And to really do this fully with your whole body. So to really like, you can take two chairs and put them across from each other. You can put a piece of paper on the ground. You can take two spots on a couch. Just basically like, but really moving your body back and forth between I want to stay and let yourself fully feel it. Feel all the reasons you want to stay. Feel everything you want about it. And then just step back and forth, back here. And I want to leave. And let yourself feel it. I hate this. I don't want this. This part isn't working. This isn't what I want. And I want to stay. And I want to leave. And as much as you can really let it be in your body, exaggerate it, be all the way in the one that wants to leave, be all the way in the one that wants to stay. No, don't go. I can't imagine life without you. I'm going crazy. I hate this. Right? As big as you can, back and forth, and let it get faster. Faster, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until something happens. And I can't tell you what's going to happen, but having done this with a lot of different polarities, it's very powerful. And again, these are all pieces of the puzzle of getting through this. It is a not a simple decision to be in the middle of. Hmm. Wondering if anyone is up for commenting on how that was for you, if you actually tried it. Hmm. Yeah, someone says they're going to try it later. Beautiful. Yeah. Someone else is saying, my husband is wonderful, but we don't really share a reality. We have completely different belief systems, literally about the nature of reality, belief, etc. I'm at peace with it all 90% of the time, and then during conflict, I sometimes feel very different and want to run away. It can be very mood driven. I do think sometimes I am resentful about having to hide aspects of myself. Yeah. When I hear you say having to hide aspects, I wonder, like, I would invite you into what would it be like if you just even rephrase that of I'm choosing to hide aspects of myself. This is what I mean by taking responsibility. I'm choosing to hide aspects of myself. I love this man and I don't want to deal with what would happen if I showed him this part of me, so I'm choosing to hide it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a choice for sure because the consequences of revealing is harder than their alternative. Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. And I also, again, I don't know you and I don't know your relationship, but the place I would poke there is like, okay, I hear that that's a very clear story that the consequence of revealing is harder than the alternative. And I would get curious about that story. Like, is that fully true? Um, and I don't want to, we can maybe have you come on if you want to. Um, but these are some of the places I might work with somebody. But so wondering if you, another question I want to leave you with, besides the one we asked before about, I'm going to remind you again, is there any significant truth you haven't communicated to your partner? I think if your answer is yes, my hypothesis is that you're not actually ready to know whether this relationship is uh, when you should leave and when you should stay, and that until you've cleared your withholds, until you've brought it all into the relationship, you're not actually ready to fully know if it can meet you in the way you want. And another question that I would invite you into that offers you more responsibility, more landing in yourself, more landing in your power, more landing in yourself as the creator, is the question, I wonder if it's possible to feel good without leaving. And I don't just mean in every moment, I mean with the pieces that bug you. I wonder if it's possible to have a different relationship to these things. I wonder if it's possible to find a different relationship to this. Because what necessarily happens is you are in a system with your partner. And part of what's happening, I mean, certainly there are things about them that I'm not saying we can imagine changing them, but we can certainly, you have a lot of power to change you. And what I've seen with my clients is when they have the power, they take on the power to change themselves, to wonder about, is there a different way I can see this? Is the thing that's driving me crazy in my partner something in myself that I haven't wanted to admit? How can I see them with more compassion? How can I stop projecting judgment on them? When we start to get to these questions, then suddenly the charge is less there in a behavior that their partner's doing. Their partner does the same thing they've always done about getting upset about this little thing, and suddenly you have more distance to stop getting hooked in it in the same way you always get hooked in it. And suddenly there's something else that can happen. So these possibilities, I want to say that like as you're making a decision, as you're in the question of is this relationship right for me? If you know it's unhealthy, then I would get very curious of like, well, what am I getting out of staying and why am I unwilling to leave? But if you're not so clear on that, if you're really, really in the question of like, what is the right path? Getting really clear on what are you committed to? What are you wanting to be committed to? What is your intention? What are you withholding? How are you creating the results that you're getting? And have I fully brought all of myself into this relationship and given them the chance to create something new with me? Have I brought all my desires? Have I brought all my fears? Have I brought all my stories? It's a very scary thing to do, especially when there's a backlog of resentment or things you haven't cleared. But it's also incredibly rewarding. And I think more often than not, you know, it allows um, it allows new things to unfold that you could never have imagined. And if what you find is that it's not possible, that your partner isn't open to it, that you can't find a way to share these things even as you're trying, if you can't find and again, there's some tactics to it. I don't want to say like, it would be understandable if you just blurt a huge confession at somebody when they're not ready and there's a lot of blame in it, like it may not create positivity. So some tools like nonviolent communication, or again, there's a repair process that my friend Hazel Grace Yates teaches that I'm starting to work with as well. I have a worksheet on the art of difficult conversations on my website that can help you prepare for these things in a really good way. But if you have really done your best to bring your full self into the relationship and it's not, and it's still feeling like it's not going to work, then you get to know much more clearly that you've done what you can and that you can feel more peace if you're choosing to leave. And you're not in a bunch of drama about it, and you're not a bunch of blame about it. Your path onto what becomes the rest of your life is going to be much clearer and cleaner. And until then, you have chosen this person as your sparring partner, as your teacher, as your growth path. And the more you can see them that way, that what is this person here to teach me? Have I gotten it all out? That question can let you really, how is this experience forging me? That question can let you stay in the challenge even with a sense of richness instead of a sense of resentment about it. Yeah. Okay. So that's the content. That's the stuff I wanted to share with you guys today. Some of it might have been confronting. I hope it wasn't confusing. Please let me know if there's anything you're confused about with it. This is my first time trying to teach all this particular material to a group, and so I'm very excited to continue refining that. But I hope it was meaningful. I hope it was helpful. I hope it's given you some kind of nugget to chew on, some sense of direction or peace. And I just want to tell you, I'm holding two truths here at the same time. One is that you are perfect, and where you are right now, nothing has gone wrong. You're exactly where you need to be. There is no problem. I truly believe that. And the other that I'm holding that I also believe is that being in this position is painful and it's a costly, painful question to be sitting with. And you get to have support to get unstuck. I'm holding these both. that there's no problem, and also like this is very uncomfortable and you may not want to be here. And I'm going to open to more some coaching or some questions, but the reason I decided to offer this workshop is that, as I said, I've lived this, and it's also one of the most satisfying things I get to help clients with in my one-on-one coaching because I've seen really fast shifts. I have had quite a few clients coming in on the edge of like, I think I need to leave this marriage, and quite a number of them we found um, quick shocking victories and suddenly they're showing up differently and something shifts enough that they're like, actually, no, I all the things I like about this are enough and I'm happy to stay. So, and some of them are still in the question, but they're on that path of knowing that they've done all their own work, and that's not a quick thing. It takes months, right? That they've done all their own work, to be clear. Um, and because this is one of the most satisfying things I do with my one-on-one clients, I do want to make sure that you know about your options there. So, I in my coaching with folks, I work one-on-one with people. We do weekly Zoom calls, so you can be anywhere in the world. And if I'm having some weeks right now where I'm traveling a bunch, so we work with schedules as we need to, but it's weekly hour-long Zoom calls where we get to just really bring your thing that you're wrestling, whatever the loudest thing is in your relationship right now. We look at the microcosm of a moment, of the current fight, of the current thing that's driving you the most crazy, and I have a whole bucket full of tools that we start to use to help you examine your commitments, to help you learn to have better conversations, to help you get really clear on your true desires and intentions, to help you be in full responsibility, and then to really, really get present enough to see your situation clearly, and then to be really, really resourceful and clear and supported in knowing what to do. So having somebody to really be like in there with but who's, I hold a lot of neutrality. I mean, I would definitely let you know if I'm concerned that your relationship is harming you, but even in that, I'm like, I still trust you if you choose you want to stay. And um, so having a coach on your side around this decision, I can promise it can be incredibly, incredibly supportive, both to finding the levers of where things can get better super quickly with you learning to show up in a different way, and with also you being really clear if and as you're leaving, what you're creating as you go and how to take responsibility for doing it in the most kind and connected and authentic way you can. So all of this to get support with this, to get support, stepping into responsibility, stepping into the creator of your life, being the creator of life, stepping into the skills of presence, of inarguable conversation, of understanding, how to take that moment where they're doing the thing that drives you crazy and to have a different option for how to show up, how to have just enough of a different reaction than you usually do that you get out of the cycle. This all starts with a free 60-minute consultation. And on that call, we look at your whole life, not just this one question, but what's working, what isn't, what you actually want, what's been in the way. And if it makes sense to keep going together, we'll talk about what that can look like. And if it doesn't, I promise you will still leave with more clarity than you came in just by having this conversation of looking at it. So you should already have an email in your inbox that has a link to book if you're interested in considering getting some more support with this. Wildgenius.com. You can go there and find a link. It's already in your inbox. And find a time. I encourage you, find a time. Like I said, I'm out of the office a bunch the next couple weeks, but in the next 3 weeks, find a time. And if nothing fits your schedule, email me and we'll figure it out. But do not wait weeks to get on this. Get your spot now while you're still connected to what came up for you. Yeah. And I'm here. You've got somebody saying, what's come to light today is how exhausted I am at having wrestled with the decision for so long. And as I become aware of the exhaustion, I was able to relax, actually just acknowledging it. It helps me move forward, knowing how much this situation is exhausting me. Yes, thank you. I really appreciate that. Just telling the truth about something can be relieving, even if the thing itself is an unpleasant thing. And this can be true with yourself and in relationship. I've had this in relationship where somebody confesses. I literally had a partner confess to say to me that he was having the thought that I had gained weight and he was thus less attracted to me. And I had, understandably, you might too, if somebody said that to you, I had a huge reaction. Like it really hurt. I had a lot of pain. And this is part of why I believe so deeply in saying the thing, you know, even when it can be a hard thing. Him in saying it, the charge drained completely out of it. Me in receiving it, he stuck with me while I felt some really big feelings. And on the far side of it, we were in vastly more intimacy than we had been while he was holding this thought that he was afraid to say to me. And I am actually grateful that he had the courage to say that. And even in saying it, it relieved it. So there's this power of telling the truth about something to yourself first, for sure. But even in relationship, that I have had time and again, even though it can sometimes create a lot of pain for a minute, the kerfuffle has been, in my experience, totally worth it. And so acknowledging the exhaustion. Another thing I want to say is that that makes me think of is that there's a formula that some smart folks I know have come up with called the change formula. And it's about, and this very much applies to, we all have resistance to change. Inertia is a clear thing. Change is happening all the time, but we all resist it. And so change happens when some certain things become greater than our resistance. And what those things are vision, what we imagine for the future, how we imagine our life could be better, the thing we see that we're moving towards, times dissatisfaction plus first steps. So vision and dissatisfaction, there's a multiplier there. They're bigger factors than knowing kind of what the first step is. That's nice. You need it. If you have no idea what the first step is, that can be really rough. But vision and dissatisfaction. So two ways to help get through the resistance to change is to increase your vision of what's possible or to increase your dissatisfaction, which usually just means getting more honest with yourself about the dissatisfaction that's actually there. It means stop drifting, stop lying, stop numbing out, stop buffering to cover what your real dissatisfaction is. Getting really honest with yourself about how dissatisfied you are with the current reality is a really good way to get over your resistance to change. Sometimes something happens and then the dissatisfaction goes up. Sometimes the circumstance actually changes. But if you compare getting more honest with your dissatisfaction and getting more honest with your vision, more like really putting energy into like what do I want? What could I have? What is my heart yearning for? What could I imagine? How could this be amazing? You get those ramped up, then suddenly the resistance gets dwarfed. And that can be either, the change can either be leaving or showing up differently within the partnership you have to thus create different results. You have resistance to showing up differently, otherwise, you would be doing it, right? And so I don't want to, like I said, I'm not coming in here with one side or another that you should leave or that you should stay. But you have resistance to anything changing. And if you can up your vision and up your dissatisfaction, then those start to change. So, um, just wanting
I
to,
think for me,
sorry, go
is
ahead.
it okay if I share?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And are you okay being on camera or do you want to not be?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, great. I'm
yeah,
gonna pin you too so we can see you. Oops.
yeah. Oh, it'll be on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, let's pin us both. Uh, add pin. Okay, there we go. Go ahead.
Um, yeah, I think for me, like being in this relationship and like kind of being stuck in it, it's not really as much about the relationship as like a life upgrade that is coming for me. And
Hmm.
so it's like I think the universe is basically like, do you want to be comfortable or do you want to be big in the world? So, like, to the extent I'm staying is to the extent I'm staying small in my life. So it's not just about the relationship, it's about like my whole life. Yeah. And I think relationships are a great reflection of like your life and like yourself. And like you said, like if you gained weight is what like one example, it's like maybe that's not serving you in some other ways. Maybe like your life force energy is being drained by something and like so this person kind of poking you at you and saying, "Hey, I'm not as attracted to you. I don't want to have sex." It's all kind of symbolic. It's like your life force energy is drained, like so that might be symbolic not just of sex with him, like it's actually if you can be really open-minded to whatever they're saying to you, it actually could help you innovate your whole life, not just making them happier. you know?
To-
It's
Totally,
like you would be
totally.
happier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the reason I had such a big
Yeah.
reaction about it was because I was sensitive to it in that particular one. And yeah, I'm hearing you say that like you're
Yeah.
seeing that you're you staying stuck in a relationship that you might name as unhealthy, like is uh is about you and the choices you're making in your life and the patterns you're in. And I just want to celebrate that because um you have kind of a strong example of it where you're already labeling it as unhealthy. I think some people might be like a little more in confusion about that. But there's something you're like it's like you
Yeah.
are survey says you're committed to being in a healthy relationship, right? So that's going to tell because that's what's happening. For now, you're
Yeah.
committed to that. And either the
Yes.
relationship can change or you can leave. Those are two options. Or you can stay committed, but being
Right.
really honest about it, right? And so
I think some of
it
your
requires you
questions
changing your
today.
commitment. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of your questions today, and this is not about you, this is about me, I'm realizing, but some of your questions today, because they are aimed at more healthy relationships, which I am not in, they feel kind of gaslighting because I have asked
Mm,
myself all of those things like 1,000 times. And when I realize I'm not actually the problem because I'm actually having a self inquiry and I'm actually asking those important questions and I'm asking where I'm the problem or where I need to shift, but he's not doing that work. In fact, he kind of doubles down on his way of being because I'm doing all the heavy lifting on my side. He doesn't have to lift a finger. So he
well,
just
and
gets to
so
run his ego programs like continuously, you know what I mean? So in a way, I'm enabling him to by staying and by doing all this hard work on my side. I'm growing a lot, but he's not growing. So it's kind of like we're becoming more mismatched the more time goes on. Like we were a better match 17 years ago when like we started this because I was less conscious and he was more conscious in comparison. That like we were more matched at that time, but I've grown a lot as a result, and he's not keeping pace. So it feels like really a worse match with every passing year.
yeah, I just want to say I feel the care of that. And then also, yeah, this, I mean, I appreciate you bringing up this issue, right? Because I really started diving into these tools while I was in a relationship with somebody who was not super mentally well. And someone you've
Yeah.
actually met. So I know you're kind of more aware of that experience. And
Yeah.
in constantly taking responsibility, it's part of what helped me stay longer through I was constantly wondering, what can I learn from this? What is there for me to learn in what this
Yeah.
person's saying? And that said, I don't make that a problem. I don't make it a problem that my learning experience had me stay longer than I might have. I actually did learn a crap ton about how to grow and taking
Yeah.
responsibility. And when it was time to leave, then what happened was I got more committed to something different, and it required me getting really courageous to again still take responsibility, not blaming him, not, saying, okay, well, without needing you to believe anything different, I can just take responsibility for me, for the boundary being the distance at which I can love you and love myself at the same time. I don't need to like, this just doesn't work for me. And so here's a new boundary. This is part of the piece of kind of the deep work of taking responsibility is also to take responsibility for like it not being a problem that I chose to stick and get forged is one of the ways I would think about it, for as long as I did, and to learn to use these tools in a real discerning way where I wasn't using them against myself, where I wasn't trying to gaslight myself, and I wasn't letting anyone gaslight me, and but also still staying out of blame in that. It's like, cool, yeah, I was choosing to be here, and um, these things aren't working for me, and so eventually I'm going to choose not to be. If that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Eventually, it's gonna break down. It's just yeah, it's not sustainable. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think everything will happen in time. But yeah,
Yes,
these are
and this is
good.
what I want to say. It's like, this is something I think Elizabeth Gilbert said in her Eat, Pray, Love book, where she like was like, "Ah, I should have been ready to leave earlier," and then she's like, "But I wasn't. I wasn't ready to leave earlier, and I wasn't ready until I was ready." And I just, I have a really strong perspective on the universe of just, we're each powerful creators, and um, we can see everything as a gift or an opportunity, and so, being not ready to leave yet, even though you kind of have a sense like you seem somewhat clear that that's your direction. Um, how much can you like I don't
Yeah.
I choose not to see that as a problem either. And to trust the lessons you're
Yeah.
getting in not being ready yet.
Well, sometimes I feel like my life is going so slow and it's like, why am I still stuck in this? Like this has been like not sort of relevant. This relationship has been not relevant to my life for a long time. Like I already got the lesson a long time ago, so I don't sort of understand why it keeps sticking. But the situation has changed. Like I've been financially dependent on him, so that was really what it was. It was just like me getting unstuck around money, which is probably a multi-lifetime like thing I'm working through. So it's actually going fast, probably in the grand perspective, but to me it like feels so painful some of the
Hmm.
time, right? Because it's just like being stuck in this holding pattern. And it's like, Aaliyah, why can I not just fucking move forward already?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to say I feel the compassion for that. And I would always invite you into power, even with that, is like, well, I'm choosing to be in this relationship that I'm not that happy with because I'm choosing the financial stability it gives me. And so, like, those are the two things.
Right. Because if I just leave, it's like I feel like I would just repeat it over again. But like if I actually work through it with him, who might be safer, and I've already, than some future person, like I'd probably just recreate this again with some other man, and it really wouldn't move forward, and then I would have wasted time in another way. So like I may as well like stay here and really get all the lessons and then move
Yeah.
on and then never have to repeat this again. And really looking forward to like, wow, there's going to be a scenario where I'm financially stable. I don't need anyone for that piece. And now I'm just coming to a new relationship with like this energy that feels nicer. Like, I don't need you for anything. I want you. I don't need you. And I don't have to make you hang around and you don't have to make me hang around. Like, we don't have all that sticky codependent stuff. Like, it's clean. It's like, it just feels like love, unconditional, more
Yeah.
so.
Well, and I like the vision you're painting there of a relationship. Hmm. Yeah. Just want to point out that's a
Yeah,
vision.
those are from the Integral Center, by the way, both of it. I just realized.
Oh, no, yeah, but the vision that you're saying
Oh, yeah,
of the relationship you want, where you're coming in financially stable and you're
yeah,
not coming in,
right.
you're two people meeting without a need, but just a want to be together. That's,
Yes. Yeah,
talking about that's a vision. And
yeah,
you sort of you've stuck around in this one, but I also like you're saying, okay, I'm gonna let that vision come to life within this relationship. You feel fairly clear that uh that this relationship isn't one you want to keep going with longer term. And at
yeah.
the same time, we still like, I always want to leave openness for being surprised too. That if something really changes, you get to let yourself be surprised. Anything's possible. And you'll find out.
Yeah,
You'll find out on your journey. Yeah.
right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Gonna,
thank you.
gonna unpin you and spotlight myself again. Thanks. So I just want to remind you again that if we really want to like dig into feeling all the backlog of feelings and your fear about bringing the question and your stories and you're wondering why you're stuck and these pieces, the first step is a free consultation. You can book it now, wildgenius.com. If you have a consultation before August 8th, if you get on my calendar between now and then or get it booked between now and then, I'm actually not going to be in the opposite lap between now and August 8th and we sign up for coaching, you'll also get a free extra session where it's a zone of genius mapping session where we do a whole interview just around your zone of genius, the thing that brings you most alive in the world, where you can make your greatest contribution, where you're in flow and time disappears. I'm offering that as a bonus to anyone who between now and August 8th books their consultation and then we start working together. You'll get an extra free session where we can focus on that using my skills as an interviewer. I used to be a nonfiction writer and a journalist, so pulling out those juicy things that it's very hard to see about yourself. That is another thing you'll get if you act soon. But more importantly, you'll get some support with the pain of this relationship. And I just want to say one thing I know for sure is that divorce is freaking expensive. And if you can find your way into truly being satisfied and happy in the relationship that you're in, into evolving that dynamic, that would be a very, very meaningful, worthwhile investment. If you can't, there's still a way that you, in getting the support, you get to be confident that you're moving through without, as Aaliyah was saying, repeating the same patterns that you had, without bringing the same version, negativity or version of yourself into the next relationship. So I would love to see any of you on my calendar in the next couple weeks, wildgenius.com, or the link is in your inbox. I really look forward to chatting. And someone here is saying the power of truth is resonating with me. My current truth is that it's easier to just be a sponge and take in comments that I don't necessarily agree with. But another truth is that I can make a choice not to absorb and be honest, i.e., wow, that really hurts, or would you make that why would you make that comment? The hard truth is that I need to talk responsibility if I want to be at peace with myself in this relationship. Yes, yes, thank you. That is definitely what I'm pointing at, and I'm glad, really glad to hear it's landing. It's exactly somebody can say something, and we get to either say "ouch" and be honest about that, or pretend like it didn't hurt, right? And when we're pretending like it didn't hurt, we're not in a real, healthy, true relationship. We're not in a conscious relationship. One of the core things of conscious relationship is actually we're telling the micro truth in the moment of like, oh, I felt my chest tighten and my belly tighten when you said that. I noticed my breath getting short. I'm having the thought, uh, that I'm telling the story that you're really disrespecting me. Being able to say those things in the moment is part of the skill of creating a healthy relationship. And I will say it is definitely in some ways much easier to just start a relationship with that. I have definitely learned from experience that if we just start with lots of truth in the room, that we don't ever get this backlog of sort of clogged pipes or stacked layered things. Um, and that's awesome. And at the same time, there's a lot of value usually in all the time you've put in, time on the ice you've had with this person. And many of us who started relationships young or years ago, we just don't have the relationship skills to be able, we didn't have the relationship skills. So then it's the possibility of kind of cleaning up and getting more truth in the room, getting all this backlog out. And yes, it can feel scary, but honestly, truth can happen in a moment. You can be having a whole big argument, but as soon as someone tells the truth about their actual experience, I feel scared. My stomach hurts with that. My teeth are clenched. You get out of the story, and it's really a story that's the drama that keeps you going, right? And so if we can that's part of the getting present, is we get really, really present with our experience, even if the experience is I'm terrified and I'm in fight or flight. Getting present with that, the amount of change that can happen quickly when we get out from under the story and get down to the core of the truth of it, which is usually more of a physical experience and emotion. It's really, really cool and incredible how quickly some things that have been looping for a long time can start to evaporate. But sometimes it takes help. Obviously, you're in a system now where each of you are doing the best that you know how. And if you want to know how to do better, you're going to need new inputs somehow. You're going to need a new commitment. Somebody's going to need to change, and you are the one you have control over. So if you really, really are committed to finding your way into a healthy version of a relationship where you are committed to your own genius, you're committed to closeness, you're committed to freedom, you're committed to ease and play, these are the kind of relationships I help people become the person who they know how to create. Sometimes their current partnership is able to evolve. If they get clear that it's not, then they still become the person. So I would love to work with you deeper one-on-one, really get into the specifics of your heart, your issue, the things you're blaming, the things you're wanting to be right about, the things you feel so stuck in, the things you can't see your way out of. If we work together, we get really present with them with a lot of compassion. I'm bringing both a lot of care and understanding and trust and understanding of where these patterns come from. And of course, of the way that I really believe we're all just managing our experience. We all make sense. But then also compassion and fierceness of like, okay, and what do you want to create now? Right? Some of these challenging ideas that I was saying here. So again, one-on-one coaching has been one of the most life-changing things I've ever had. The capacity, the relationships, the last two relationships I've created, the one before this one that didn't go the distance and the one that I'm in the middle of creating now have just been like so radically satisfying to me. And I truly believe I've seen it. You don't have to start over with a new person to be able to have that too. So I would love to see any of you, wildgenius.com, free 60-minute consultation. And just, is there anyone else who has anything else that they want to share before we leave? And I just want to say, you may be thinking like, you don't know if you're ready to make a decision yet about leaving or staying or even being in coaching. And I just want to say, you don't have to have anything decided to just get on the calendar with me. We talk it through, we get you towards clarity. You don't have to have clarity already. And if this feels big and scary to talk about, I just want to say I really get it. I have lots of people tell me they feel a lot of gratitude for how unflapped I am by almost anything anyone can tell me. And this is why our first conversation is free and no obligation. You see if it feels safe before committing. And if you have this idea that you should be able to figure out this out on your own, I just want to say this is one of the most painful stories I've told myself for many, many years. And it's possible. Maybe you can, but survey says that's not what's been happening. If you're still stuck, you haven't figured it out on your own. And uh, these are some really, really different skills than most of us have learned, and it's incredibly helpful to have someone who's been through it, who's kind of gone through this evolution of really learning to think and live this way. So I just want to thank you all so much. And yeah, somebody is saying they need to jump off, but thank you for this time and compassion. It's wonderful to start your day with hope. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I want you to start every day with hope and clarity that you get to have the life you dream of, that the things you're settling for, you do not have to settle for, and you actually have no idea what's possible for you when you start showing up as the person that you want to be creating, as the creator of your life, creating new things all around you. So I hope to see you on my calendar, and if not, keep an eye out for whatever the next workshop topic is going to be. I may do this one again in a few months with an evolved understanding, or we'll see. I'm also probably doing something about how to decide if you're going to leave your job and how to decide if you want to have kids, because these big crossroads decisions for life are ones that are really, really helpful to have a very different set of skills around than most of us were ever taught. All right. So thank you, everyone. I deeply, deeply appreciate your time, whether you were here live or watching the replay. And if you have any other questions that you didn't want to ask here, or you want just the experience of sitting with me and my perspective, please, please, please get on my calendar. And I really look forward to seeing if we're a good fit to work together. And I'll see you next time. I'll see you in I'll send the replay out later today. So look in your inbox if there's anything else you want to revisit. And thank you again so much.